When I watched my 78-year-old grandfather, Harold Thompson, snatch the keys from an HOA enforcer's glossy black Ram 2500 and calmly drive it nose first into the stream that cut through our ranch, I thought the feud was finally over. I was wrong. That moment wasn't the end. It was the beginning. See, this isn't just a story about a truck or a creek. It's about legacy, land, and what happens when a bully with a badge, a man who thought HOA rules were the law of Texas, collided with a rancher who'd spent 4 decades mastering heavy machinery and never forgot his lessons for Vietnam. So sit back, because this is the saga of why you never cross a stubborn rancher. My name's Jake Thompson, and before this war broke out, life on the ranch was steady and simple. I just finished my degree in agribusiness from Texas A&M and returned home to help Grandpa run our 200-acre spread just outside Austin. This wasn't just land. It was family legacy. The Thompson clan had worked this soil since 1923. We'd weathered the Great Depression, 2 world wars, dust storms, and droughts so brutal the earth split open like broken pottery. Grandpa always said, if your roots sink deeper than your neighbor's posts, you'll stand through every storm. That was his way of saying, land isn't just dirt, it's blood and sweat. But over the last decade, the countryside changed. Where there had once been open pastures and dirt roads, fancy HOA neighborhoods started popping up like mushrooms after rain. Cookie-cutter houses, iron fences, perfect lawns watered twice a day. Folks with money and city habits trying to play cowboy on weekends. And into that world strutted Chad Morrison. I first laid eyes on him one January morning. His black Ram 2500 was blocking the only entrance to our ranch, parked sideways like he owned the place. Chrome wheels as tall as my waist, tinted windows so dark you couldn't see in, oversized exhaust puffing like a dragon. At first, I figured it was a mistake. Maybe a lost driver. I walked up and knocked. The window slid down, and I saw him. Tall, 6 feet 2 inches maybe, with shoulders that hinted at old muscle softened by years of beer. Sunglasses on, lips curled into a sneer that looked permanent. Morning, I said politely. You're blocking our gate. He didn't move. Instead, he smirked. Your gate? According to HOA maps, this is communal roadway. Open easement. I froze. He was serious. This here is Thompson Ranch, I said carefully. Private land. Been in our family since 1923. He chuckled, a grating sound that set my teeth on edge. Listen, country boy, times change. This whole area? HOA turf now. You got a problem? Bring it up at a board meeting. Then he swung the door open, stepped out, and loomed over me. He pulled out his phone, aimed it at my face. For the record, he said, attempted vandalism of HOA patrol vehicle. Hostility from landowner. I backed off, stunned. I thought maybe this was just some bizarre one-off encounter. But when he shoved a paper into my hand, a so-called HOA patrol authorization, filled with legal gibberish and no official seal, I knew. This wasn't a mistake. It was a declaration. That evening, Grandpa's old Ford rumbled up the drive, coughing diesel like it always had. He climbed out slow, wearing his usual uniform, faded jeans, boots caked with dust, and a Stetson older than me. His eyes landed on my face, and he knew something was wrong before I even spoke. I told him everything. About Chad, about the bogus paper, about how he'd filmed me like I was the criminal. Grandpa listened without interrupting. When I finished, he took the note, read it carefully, then folded it and slipped it into his pocket. His jaw was tight, eyes darker than I'd seen in years. Jake, he said after a long silence, did I ever tell you I was a combat engineer in Vietnam? I shook my head. He rarely spoke of the war. Well, I was. Built bridges, cleared minefields, figured out ways around every trap the jungle threw at us. 27 months out there, and I learned one thing. Bullies underestimate the quiet ones. They see wrinkles and gray hair, but they don't see the man who's already walked through hell. That night by the fire, he shared stories I'd never heard. Stories of nights where the jungle whispered death, of comrades who didn't make it back, of machines and explosives and the patience required to survive. When he finished, he stared into the flames. Chad thinks paper gives him power, Grandpa said finally. But on this land, paper doesn't mean a damn thing. Deeds do. And our deeds go back a century. I realized then that Grandpa wasn't just angry. He was preparing. The days that followed only proved him right. Chad kept coming back. His truck appeared at our gate like clockwork, sometimes blocking me from tending to the cattle, sometimes idling there just to let us know he was watching. One morning, I found beer cans tossed in the ditch. Another time, muddy boot prints led right up to our barn. Then came the day Emily arrived. Emily Rodriguez, my girlfriend, soon-to-be fiancée, though she didn't know it yet. A final-year law student at UT, sharp as a blade and stubborn as they come. She was helping part-time in property law, and when she heard about Chad, her eyes lit with fury. "This is completely illegal," she said after reviewing our deeds. "Your ranch predates their HOA. Their jurisdiction ends at their subdivision. He's trespassing. Full stop." Her determination gave me hope, but it also made Chad furious. Because soon, it wasn't just parking. It was a barbecue. One Saturday morning, I stepped outside to find Chad's truck, plus 3 others, parked across our gate. Men lounged in folding chairs, a grill sizzling, beer flowing. Smoke drifted over our pasture. "What the hell is this?" I shouted. Chad, sitting in a lawn chair like a king, raised his beer in salute. "HOA meeting, hayseed. Official business." They laughed, trash littering the dirt. Before I could charge, Grandpa's hand clamped my shoulder. "Not yet," he said calmly. Then he stepped forward. "Chad," Grandpa said, voice low but firm. "You're trespassing. You've got 10 minutes to clear out." Chad sneered. "Or what, old man? You gonna call the sheriff?" "I know those boys." Grandpa's grin was cold. "No, son. I'll just let Sheriff Johnson know we've got DUI suspects on private property." That got his attention. Sheriff Johnson, an old Vietnam buddy of Grandpa's, was not a man Chad wanted to see. Within minutes, Chad's buddies packed up, muttering curses as they left. But Chad lingered, face red, voice full of venom. "This ain't over, bumpkin," he spat. "We'll bury you in violations until you beg to sell." And from that day on, the harassment escalated to something darker. At first, it was small things. Hang-up calls in the night. Trucks tailing me into town. Notes left on our gate. Then the messages started hitting Emily's phone. At first, they were casual. "Saw you at the coffee shop." Pretty smile. Then they turned ugly. "You're wasting your time with Jake. You could have more." She blocked the number. The next day, a new one appeared. When she confronted Chad outside the HOA office, he just smirked. "Stressful, huh? Maybe you're imagining things." But he knew details about her life no stranger should. Her schedule, her family's address, even her classes. It all came to a head one Tuesday night. Emily stayed late at the ranch, working on case notes. At 9 p.m., she heard a truck outside. She thought it was me. But when she peeked through the curtains, her heart dropped. The black Ram sat in the driveway. Chad pounded on the door, shouting her name. "Emily, we need to talk. Don't ignore me." She called me, voice trembling. I was 20 minutes away. Chad circled the house, banging on windows, trying doors. He promised protection, power, everything Jake can't give you. By the time I roared up the drive, he was gone. But the garden was torn up, her car windows smashed, and the words "final shot" were scratched into the front door. The cops came 2 hours later. They shrugged. No proof it was him. Anyone could have done this. Emily sobbed in my arms that night. Jake, I can't live like this. And that was the moment Grandpa decided it was time. Grandpa pulled out a dusty wooden box from the attic. Inside were old maps, deeds, and documents dating back a century. This creek, he said, spreading out a faded survey map, is our boundary. 20 feet on both sides. Anything left abandoned here for more than 72 hours? Legally ours to dispose of. His eyes gleamed. Jake, it's time to teach Chad what trespassing costs. Over the next week, Grandpa prepared. He documented every visit, every truck, every plate number. Emily helped draft complaints. Sheriff Johnson gave us quiet advice. Keep your records clean. When you move, make sure it's airtight. And then it happened. Chad left his truck at our gate overnight. And the next night. And the next. 78 hours. Cameras rolling. Legal proof secured. That morning, Grandpa fired up his excavator. The machine groaned like a waking giant. Chains rattled. Birds scattered. Neighbors peeked out as he rumbled toward the gate. Chad's truck gleamed in the morning sun. Grandpa didn't hesitate. He hooked the chains to the bumper, tightened them, and began to drag. The tires screeched. The ground tore. The truck lurched forward, helpless against the steady pull of iron and diesel. Chad appeared, red-faced, sprinting down the lane. "Stop! That's my truck," he screamed. Grandpa ignored him. The excavator growled, dragging the ram across the dirt like a stubborn calf. By the time the sheriff's cars arrived, the truck was teetering over the creek bank. Chad raged, waving a fake badge. Citizens arrest. Theft of private property. Sheriff Johnson's voice boomed through a bullhorn. "Drop the act, Chad. You're done." Grandpa looked back at Chad, calm as stone. 72 hours, son. Abandoned vehicles become ours to dispose of. And with a flick of the controls, the excavator's bucket lifted the ram high and tipped it nose first into the creek. The splash echoed across the valley. Chad's scream was drowned by the rush of water. That day, justice finally caught up with Chad Morrison. Turns out, the truck wasn't even his. It was Margaret's, reported stolen hours earlier in a desperate bid to cover their tracks. With the sheriff's evidence, the harassment logs, and Emily's phone records, the case snapped shut like a bear trap. Chad was convicted of harassment, impersonating an officer, and theft. He's serving 8 years behind bars. Margaret paid hefty damages and quietly resigned from the HOA board. Without her and Chad, Pine Creek's harassment machine fell apart. Emily graduated, opened her own firm, and still says Grandpa taught her more about property law than any professor ever could. And our ranch? Still ours. Still standing. Every summer now, we hold barbecues down by that creek. The same creek where Grandpa made his stand. When folks ask why, he just grins and says, "Because bullies forget, but land remembers." And I'll tell you this, when that water rushes over rocks at night, I swear it carries the sound of a Ram 2500 sinking and the laughter of a 78-year-old rancher who proved once again, you never mess with Texas land.